Ahman, thank you so much for joining us here today. We certainly want to get into your story and, again, talk about gaming, talk about other things that you're doing, because you're not just a former football player. But let's start there.
Yeah.
Grew up in Omaha and, played football, also ran track. There you go. So, for you, why was it football? Why did things work out for you that football became your sport, your passion, and what drove you to the next level?
It only became the other sport. I mean, that main sport for me, primary sport, by that much. It was because it was like always in my gut. It was like I want to do what Bo Jackson did. I want to play both. And so even when I got drafted, it was still in the back of my head. I would reach out to. I remember when I got to Seattle, I was reach out to the Seahawks or not Seahawks, the Mariners, go to a game. See Ken Griffey. He was still playing at that time too, so I was a fan. That was my guy. He was a lefty. I'm a lefty. I learned he played wide receiver for a little bit when he was in Ohio growing up, when his dad was a Red. So all that was like, oh man. So it still was in my bones up until I finally just kind of put it. Once I got around 24, 25, which was between the 2000 to 2004 seasons as a Packer, where I kind of, I laid me and my offensive line and the team that we were on. That's where I kind of submitted myself as a Packer. And so during those times, I know Ron Wolf's just like, "You doing good here, kiddo. You doing good." I'm like, I want to play baseball though. I was like, because a lot of places I went, for Nebraska, for one, they told me I was going to be able to play baseball, and that never happened. The story is so they recruited me saying, "Oh yeah, you could do that." Nebraska, and then Arizona, they were number 2 on my list. And they said not only could I play baseball, they said I could play linebacker too. So I was like, what? I said, oh, it's on. I was like, so it came down to family and friends, me being close to home, the reason why I stayed in Nebraska. But the baseball was always lingering because that's something I got good at just as well as I got good at football when I was a kid. I started playing football first in Los Angeles. So I lived in Leimert Park, Crenshaw area, a few miles from USC's campus, a few blocks away from Crenshaw High School, a mile away from Dorsey High School, not that far from Emmanuel Arts High School. So I played at Rancho Park, started flag first, then Pop Warner when I turned 8. That was because my mom, she felt I was, I guess, a bigger boy and her baby wouldn't get hurt. My dad was like, he's fine. He's playing in the front yard with 13, 14-year-olds every day. So he could handle other 8-year-olds, but it was always, and then I'll come out, we play football, a game of football, then we get the bat and tennis ball, swing the bat. And then around 10, same time I was playing football, got on the baseball diamond with a really good team at Rancho Park. So that's why the baseball was there always. But so when I got to high school, moved back to Nebraska, junior year transferred to Omaha Central. I was at North for 2 years, and that was kind of the year where I was starting to, become an adult, make some decisions on my own. And I played my freshman year at North baseball. I did football and baseball my freshman year. Had a really good season. Team didn't do great, but I did well. And I even got a reach out from the KC Royals. They reached up to my dad and say, "Hey, if you could get your son down on a Saturday sometime." And we never made it down there. So I was like, oh, maybe could have started then too. But it was just something because like I was the type of kid, I was built different in the head. Like when you told me I could do something or I can't do something, I was just going to do it. Either way, I was going to do it. So if you said I could do something, I'm doing it. Now, if you say I can't do something, I'm going to really do it because I want to prove you wrong. It was like out of spite. Then after a while, when people told me I couldn't do something, it was I know I could do it. And you're telling me I can't do it, so all right, now I'm gonna have to make this happen. So,
so you go to Nebraska. Was it tough to give up the baseball dream at that point?
I say it was a little bit. I say one thing that like obviously I was busy because I was a true freshman, playing on a national title team. So it was a lot of stuff going on. So like during the football season, it was football. And the only time I did think about baseball was that first offseason after we beat Florida in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. And I get back to campus the next week or 2 weeks after that off of campus, back on campus, and I called Coach, I think it was Coach Anderson. Bill Anderson maybe was our coach, baseball coach at that time. Mm-hmm. And in my head, so I got clicked off. I changed channels. I went from being in the football mindset, and we won a national title. And now it's like, oh, it's spring. It's baseball time. So I just flipped that switch, called Bill Anderson from my dorm room, said, hey, Coach Anderson, I'm going to come over to the baseball locker room and I'm going to walk on for the baseball team. He's like, oh, man, this is, he's super excited because, between, base stealing and outfield catching the ball, that was my territory. So, and then the next day, I think I can't remember which coach it was, either Coach Osborne or Coach Solich, called me in their office and said, so I heard you had a call with Coach Anderson with the baseball team. I said, yeah. Is there, what's going on? Is there a problem? He said, well, you got to do spring ball, man. I'm like, okay, I could do spring ball, but I could, work it out and still hit the ball and bat, hit the baseball and all that and catch it. I could do it. I know I could do it, and he's like, well, we need you on the, practice field for spring ball, and I'm like, he said, well, because you might lose your position, being, number one going into the offseason because Lawrence Phillips got drafted, 6th overall, and there's some other guys that graduated and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not worried about that. If I lose my position, I'll work my way back up. I mean, I have no problem doing that. And so he's like, well, okay. He kind of gave me the look, okay. But he wasn't afraid of that question or that feedback, which I wasn't, because I was like, I know how to work. If you give me, if a guy is in a competition with me, if he beats me out and you're the starter, there's no, we're in the same helmet. So I'm going to get some time. I'm not going to worry about playing time or anything of that nature. And I knew I could play other positions too. I could play linebacker. I could play strong safety, kick returner. And I would say in my football acumen and skills, because I played everything as a kid, damn near. Only thing I didn't play in Little League was offensive line. I mean, I was D-line. I remember my first year of flag football was the defensive end, and so I had an idea of all that by then, basically being 18. So at the end of the conversation, I was like, all right, whatever. I don't want to rock no boats here. I was like, okay, and it was just interesting too. It was a thing my freshman year too was I started my major in computer science, and for some reason, like the class, I had two parts of the class. I had the lecture class during the day, and then at night was all the fun stuff. That's where you did all the coding, typing, learning how to use all the different what they called operating systems, stuff like that. And so it was at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, which was right after practice. And then right after practice also was study hall, mandatory study hall for us. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'll just come in maybe a half hour late to study hall, but it became a big thing. And I'm like, I got called into Dennis LeBlanc's office, who was our academic advisor. Hey, Ahman, the last couple of weeks you've been late to mandatory study hall. What's the reason? I'm like, you should know. You set my classes. I got a study hall. I got a lab at 5:30, 6:30, 6 o'clock. And it's an hour long, for it's either 5:30 to 6:30 or 6:30 to 7. Study hall started at 5. It goes till 9. So I'm not, it's 2 hours to go when I get there. So, but they're like, well, you may need to change your classes because you're missing out. I'm like, missing out on what? It's study hall. I was like, what? I'm confused. I was like, what is going on? I was like, I love you guys here. That's the reason I come to Nebraska, because it was about the people there. I knew I was going to be on a good team, but also the people behind the scenes, like the counselors and the academic advisors, the coaches and all that. And I'm just like, you missing something. Am I missing something? I'm like, it's just study hall. I know all through high school, study hall, you're studying. You might, if you have nothing to study, you just go to take a nap, That's why I was like, okay. So I ended up changing my major, changed out to geography, which that was my little, my niche course that I love doing, my freshman year of high school, finding out all the directions and the continents, 7 continents of the planet and all that. Just became, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go geography. Since I can't do my computer science, you can't let me play baseball. All right, I'll do this. I just settled. I settled as a teenager, right? Like I said, I didn't want to rock the boat. So now no baseball, so just locked in on football, no computer science, locked in on geography. But, from that time on, it was just living on campus and making sure that everything was in line. My grades were in line, and that every season I was ready to go. And obviously at that time, Nebraska had a fantastic strength staff. Boyd Epley, Brian Bailey, to name a few guys' names. Brian Bailey was, to me, the dude that he was hands-on with us, with me, Lawrence, any player that was a starter or even player that was somebody that had, I say, a work ethic. They would work with Brian Bailey. He was the little secret sauce in our Nebraska weight room at that time. If you wanted to work hard and be the best at what you do, offense, defensive line, linebacker, strong safety, running back, you would go through one of his workouts in the offseason, and he got you ready. And that's why eventually, I know after a few years after I left, or maybe the year when I went pro, he went to USC, or he took a year off and then went to USC. And then he got his hands on those guys, right? He had a whole bunch of California, Texas kids. Eventually he trained Reggie Bush, having those type of athletes. When you're a strength coach, and you get phenomenal athletes to kind of say, hey, this is what I know, and I'm going to put you through this. And then let's see how far we could push it. Let's see how far we could get you to, vertical jump, and how fast you are and how strong you really are. Right. And let's see how we can make a D lineman look scary, because the D lineman runs a 4.6. He was that type of trainer. He could take somebody, they already molded, and you already got, the what is it, the Michelangelo picture. Right. How can you make that better? Like, okay, I could do it. He was the dude to make. Like, he took me and put me in a place where eventually I ran a 4.140, and I come out of high school, I was already a state champion, the sprinter. It's like, what more can you do to this? And he said, no, don't worry about it. I got some stuff for you.
I got you.
So it was no surprise once he got to USC, because it was a few years went by. I didn't know exactly where he landed. I knew he went somewhere on the West Coast. And then I found out he went to USC, and I was like, oh my God, he got a whole bunch of good athletes out there. They're already good because they live in California. The weather is what it is. And they probably come from, the high schools that were there, from Dorsey to Crenshaw to Manual Arts to Mater Dei, up north in the Northern California, those schools, and Texas, Florida, kids. It's like, oh my God.
So he was just getting just a whole different kind of athlete in general.
Exactly.
Just a whole different kind of athlete.
Exactly. And that's where, you saw during those times, Liner years, Reggie Bush years, they had national title teams.
Lindell White. Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
So you talk about you being, a track star and all that coming out of high school. What and highly recruited, I'm guessing, coming out of high school, had your choices. You said you could have gone to Arizona and everything, but you went to Nebraska. So coming out of high school and going into college, what was the biggest transition on the field for you?
You know what? The biggest transition was just the speed of the game. And I wasn't far off. It wasn't far off from me. So not only did I had Arizona on the list, I had Notre Dame, I had Michigan, I had Penn State and Nebraska. Those are the schools, my 5 visits that I had on the slate. And I'll go back and tell the story about my Notre Dame trip in a second, but I'll answer this first question here. But the speed, it was just more the speed. And the speed, thank God that I practiced against the best college football defense in college football history. The black shirt defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I respected that defense. So I respected those guys till today, even though they grown now, we're all about the same age. We all old. I do still respect them, because when we were younger, when we were in our, teenage years to early 20s, those dudes are a problem.
Monsters.
Like, I remember I'll never forget my first series behind Lawrence. So Lawrence Lawrence is the starter. Then I think Clinton Childs was after him. But then this first day, for whatever reason, but I know why, because I was a highly recruited player. I was US Today All-American. So the rotation was Lawrence, and then me, and then Clinton, and then Damon, and then Jay Sims, and a few other guys. So of course they want to see the talent that they just signed, right? So I remember the first series watching Lawrence go out there. It's maybe 6 plays he gets, and after the 6 plays is a touchdown. He went 50 yards on black shirt defense. I remember it's Lawrence Phillips.
Of course.
This is a whole nother. It's different. It's different. So I'm like, okay, So I go, it's my turn. Ahman, get in there. Coach Solis says, Ahman, get in there. Your turn. Get your reps in. There we go. So first carry, I definitely didn't get past the line of scrimmage. I think Christian Peter hit me. talking crap to me. Freshman, take that back to high school and take that back to Omaha Central. I'm like, noted. I will, Mr. Peters. I will. So I was like, it wasn't intimidation. It was respect. I mean, he was part of a defense that was on pretty much a brick wall trying to run through, or even whatever stronger than a brick wall, right? You could not run through them in practice or on Saturdays. And so him tackle for loss, you know what? Hey, that's your job. You're doing your job. Okay, but I'm a note. I need to run harder. Okay. Next play, same thing, maybe gained a yard, not much, got maybe a stalemate, boom. And then the next play after that, I went right up the middle for 15 yards. And I remember Christian, I think he tried to arm tackle me. I went through that, picked up the 50 yards, and I'm jogging back to the huddle. And he's like, freshman, that's how you run the ball. That's how you run the goddamn ball. I'm like, I'll listen to you. He said, run harder. So welcome. Thank you, Mr. Peters. I appreciate you, And so that just being around that for me was nothing new because I had two older brothers. One brother went to the Army. Other one he became a police officer. He was Omaha police officer for 24 years. Mm-hmm. So watching them in high school, they both went to Tech. I think one went to Tech, one went to Central, which were good, prominent high schools in Omaha area at that time. One played fullback, another one played running back. And, growing up with two older brothers, older sister, you get beat up, right? You get dislocated shoulder, punched in the chest, just to make you tough, right? And the punch in the shoulder wasn't my brother's. The dislocated shoulder was my brother's. The punch in the chest was when I was growing up in LA when we moved into Leimert Park. And I just told this story not too long ago, but we were just moving into the neighborhood in Leimert Park. I was like 7. And the whole time we're moving in, I look to the outside and I see all these kids playing outside. They playing football. They playing throw up tackle. And I'm like, I keep looking. She's like, my mom said, you got to finish bringing all these boxes in first. We moving in first. Then when you're done, you could go out there. She said, I see you looking over there.
Right.
I know you want to go play. I was like, you got stuff to do first. I was like, all right. So I finished picking all the boxes and they were out there for a while. They were out there all day. So I got done. And because when I got done, I was like, dang, I don't know if they still out there. It's like 5:00 now. I go out there. They still out there. I'm like, oh, I bet. I go out there, start running around. I watch them first. And then one of the guys said, hey, man, little dude, you could jump in? Yeah, come on. And I was like, bet. So, if you ever play throw up tackle, it's real simple. You throw the ball up. If it hits the ground, you don't want to catch it on the run. Don't catch it. Just let it bounce. And then you find it's almost like rugby when you're trying to pick up the ball and see where the holes go. Do that. And so I did that, got a couple scores in right away. And they're like, man, this little dude, he's out here putting in work. I scored one more time, then I'm coming out the end zone. Then all of a sudden, this is where the punch in the chest hit me. Bow! Somebody hit me in my chest. I'm like, I dropped the ball. I was like, oh, what is going on? And this dude, he was like 14, 15. He's like, man, sit your little butt down. And I'm like, okay, I ain't arguing. You 14, you grown. I'm like, I'm gonna chill. So I did. I went to the side, knocked the third off, got my everything, calibrated again. I was like, man, this dude just punched the smoke out of me. Man, can't catch my breath, breathing all funny. And I waited about 5 minutes and then got right back in there and scored 2 more touchdowns. So lesson learned. Like, all right, I'm gonna get hit, but you ain't gonna stop me. I mean, it's football, so you can't just be doing that. I say because in my head, I watched football. I played football at that time. I'm 7. I played flag football, so I know. I'm like, that's a flag in real football. That's what I say in my head.
You can't do this in the real game.
I was like, you can't do this in the real game. We on the streets, so I feel you. But okay, but you can't stop me. You just mad because you can't tackle me. That's what I'm saying. I ain't saying this to him. I'm saying this in my head. This is all self-talk.
Oh, yeah. But
that's how I was built different as a kid. Something like that happened to me. I'm like, okay. Because my brothers, they roughed me up. They taught me lessons. So I was like, all right, what I do? I get hit. I get knocked down. I get right back up. Here we go. And see if he do it again. And if he didn't, and he didn't. He couldn't catch me. 2, I was like, I don't know. I was like, if he hit me again, though, I'm going to just take one for the team. It's like, hey, I ain't going to get hit in the chest too many times just because I'm running and having a good day on the flag, on the on the grass today,
Yeah.
But it was just things like that was part of my childhood. But then obviously getting to the next level and having that mindset of playing football and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it seemed like you learned your lessons along the way from fellow players, fellow teammates, other people in the neighborhood there. But eventually you get drafted. You decide to leave Nebraska. You get drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. What's going through your mind? Take us through your draft day experience and getting that call from Seattle.
Oh man, it's an interesting, another good story. I'm a movie guy, so I like telling stories. So it's me and my older brother, the one that was a police officer, Jerry. He flew. He was actually in California with me during my combine training the whole time. So right after we beat Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. In the 98 Orange Bowl. A week later, you a fan or which one?
Was back then, yeah. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. Knoxville is like 100 miles away from Asheville, okay. So I was a Tennessee fan. I remember that game.
Gotcha. Hey, business. It wasn't personal. Right. It was all business.
I understand. Leonard Little's from Asheville. He was on that Tennessee team.
And he was one of the guys who's like, fourth quarter came around. He's like, y'all good. Oh, yeah. Y'all real good. Y'all legit. Because the defensive tackle y'all had, I think he went to Jacksonville. He's a big dude.
Yeah. Is that Henderson?
Yes.
Yep.
Henderson. So he tackled me for loss in like the first series in the first half. This is how the SEC do it, baby. This SEC football. I'm like, okay. I'm a junior right now. So I'm like, okay. I said, good tackle. I said, but you know what I said to him? And usually I don't say nothing to nobody. It just, the way he came at me so hard on the first play, and it's not his game. The tackle was fine. It was a good tackle. Tackle for L, 3-yard tackle loss, right? Or 3-yard loss. Yeah. It was just, it was the first play. I'm like, so I was like, it just, I never talk. And in this moment, it just something clicked where I was like, you know what? I said, you know what? Holla at me in the fourth quarter. Tell me something then. That's all I said to him and walked back to the huddle. And sure enough, fourth quarter came around, he get
2 TDs and over 200 yards later. You had the last laugh, right?
Yeah,
last word.
Right. You know how the big man get the kickstand?
Oh, I know.
He was like, yeah, y'all good. Y'all good. Yeah. I was like, I was like, all right, cool. All right. So where was I at before I jumped there? I was on somewhere.
Your draft day experience with the Seahawks.
Drafting experience with Seahawks. So I'm out there. So that was your boy, J.R. Henderson, man. Oh, yeah. So I'm in Seattle. I'm in Washington, California. I'm in Newport Beach. I went to Costa Mesa to do my combine training. Shout out to my coaches, Chuck Williams and Frank Baskerville, outstanding individuals that got me ready. Frank Baskerville trained me in my, my sprint, my 40 and all that, and running and jumping. And Chuck, he took care of the weights. He was my body weight training coach. And so I was with Lee Steinberg at the time. And those are the guys.
As a guest recently.
Yeah, and he's doing fantastic things in mental health and brain research for us. So man. I just saw him at Super Bowl, so I'm happy he's doing that. And so he was my agent, and I had, like I said, my brother was out there with me. So we was out there from 2 weeks after the Orange Bowl, from January, maybe early February, all the way to right around draft time, which was late April, around that time, still like it is today. And so draft day, I invited some of my little league friends because we're in Newport Beach. So Los Angeles is probably like an hour drive, give or take, California traffic. They come down. So some of the guys I played little league football with, their family and friends are there. And it was a long day, right? Because at that time, the draft was all in one day. And part of the draftees were in New York. The high picks, right? The number 1 draft picks were in New York City. And so I was told potentially the only reason I came out, I'll say this, the only reason I came out because it was potential that I would get drafted in the first round and first or second round high. And so I was like, you know what, that's worth my time going pro. And from the experience I got with Coach Osborne and that team, we had a high par of leadership on that team, from the locker room to the coaches. And so from them, I knew I was mentally, physically ready for everything I've been through. Like I talk about the strength staff that they had, to the coaching staff, winning 2 national titles. What more can a young man do? Running back, don't matter any position, just from that team. So I was like, I'm ready. And so it was a long day. So that first round pick was not in the cards for me. And, so are you sitting there, I'm watching guys that were on All-American team with me, Randy Moss, Charles Woodson, R.W. McQuarters, all these guys go ahead of me, and running backs like Skip Hicks, Curtis Enos was the first back off the wall. And then Skip Hicks a few picks after that from UCLA. And then John Avery, I remember he went for before me. It was just like, wow. It's like I'm coming from a national title team, and I was an integral part of that team. And I guess people don't watch football these days, because I know if I'm watching myself and I'm being non-biased, this kid can run. He's fast. He can run through people. I say it's a question mark with catching the ball out the backfield, but it was Nebraska. So, okay. But if I'm a scout, which you're supposed to scout a player, right, that you really want. Oh, he played baseball in high school. Oh, he was a state champion in high school in track. So this is me aftermath, right? After all what I know, what I experienced in 12 years in the NFL, and then obviously getting to the draft. So I found out the hard way, that at that time this is where the business world comes in. And I'm like, wow. I said, so my ability doesn't really do me much here, because I came from Nebraska. I was behind Lawrence Phillips, who obviously off the field was an issue. Nebraska looked at their offense was looked at as it's a cookie cutter offense. Any running back could go back there. Anybody could do it. And it was like, for us in the locker room at Nebraska, like nobody can not everybody could do this job, because we toting the ball. We getting 20 carries on a low day. Just looking at that, like I'm carrying the ball on average 18, 19 carries a game. And at that time in the NFL, that was the NFL. You was going to, if you were a running back and you were that person, I watched the NFL from the time I was 9, 10 years old. You were going to get, if you were the person that was a starter NFL running back, you were going to get 15 plus carries a game during the 90s, early 2000s. But when I was watching the 80s and the 90s and all that, you were going to get your lion's share. You could be like, man, here, you could take 5 carries, give me a break. So in my head, it's like, really? So that's where I learned the lesson. Like, okay, this is just more than just football now. This is a business thing, and I got it. It sucked though, right? I didn't have fun sitting there for 12 hours. Seeing my name don't get, I'm getting calls from, I remember my first phone call came from Kansas City. Oh, we were going to take you with the next pick. Pick goes by, they pick Victor Riley, from Auburn. I'm like, okay. So I get a call from the Dolphins. I was like, oh, I was just in Miami. Miami's nice. I could play for the Dolphins. Yeah, boom, John Avery. And I'm like, okay, nothing against John. I'm just like, okay, we different. We totally different running backs, right? Yeah. Size-wise, speed-wise, and all that. Fella, yeah, he's a little fella. I feel I could see him, scat back to the flat, running screens and all that. But if you need somebody to tote the rock between the tackles for 4 quarters, I'm like, okay. So, but when I finally got picked, it was obviously a joy. But at the same time, see, now they didn't piss me off. The NFL had officially pissed me off. And it wasn't obviously the league itself. It was the 31 teams that didn't draft me, because that told me, they said that you're not ready for the NFL. That's how I took that. Mm-hmm. I'll say, oh, this is personal, because business at this point, it kind of dictates, like, even if I was a quarterback, like if I was a running, a quarterback, but that's like, yeah, I might be a scrambling quarterback or option quarterback, but I could throw the rock. That's what the question mark was for Tommy. And any quarterback that came out of Nebraska, Scott Frost that year, he got switched to safety going to the Jets. So I was like, okay, you just don't know this, but you just pissed somebody off that you don't want pissed off. And when Seattle drafted me, in the back of my head, this is something I never told anybody, because I was just that quiet kid, from Nebraska. I don't want to rock the boat, but in my head, I was like, everybody we play against this season, I don't care if I'm on special teams or not, they about to get the business, because they don't think I know how to play football. They're going to find out. And I got thrown on special teams. Rich Rodriguez was my coach at Seattle. I had Dennis Erickson as my head coach. My running back coach was Tim Lip. It was his first year being he had coached somewhere in California. Or no, he coached at Northern Arizona before he got hired as an NFL coach at Seattle. And so the quiet storm inside of me was that day of the draft. So when I came in for mini camps, when I came in for training camp that year, that was a constant reminder in the back of my head. You know, 3rd round, 76th pick overall. So that kept me. That was my moment. I didn't need no momentum during my rookie year to prove what I can do on the football field. Because I remember one time when I was in high school and when I transferred to Omaha, from Omaha North to Central, and I was sitting there worried about, did we move? We had to move into the neighborhood because they didn't, you know, I was out of district and all that stuff. And I moved in my bedroom. I got a couch. I had a little love seat and my twin bed, put it in my room. I sit on my little couch and my dad comes in the room. He's like, "Boy, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." He said, "Nah, you're not. What's wrong?" I said, because training camp was literally the next day for high school. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Dad, I don't know if I'm going to be the starter." He's like, "Don't you worry about that. You a football player." He said, "Remember, you played other positions. You punt the ball, you play linebacker, you play strong safety. They'll find a spot for you." And when he said that, it kind of like, I was like, "That's why you dad. Dad, appreciate you. You right. I play linebacker, I play strong safety, I'm a kick returner, I can punt the ball, I kick field goals. I did all that in Little League." So I was like, in high school too. So I was like, that's right, I'm gonna be good. And so that was the mindset for me. And that day was just, like I said, it was treacherous. I say for any player going through that, and as I said, it built in my head something that, like I said, nobody knew. The hurt, it was more hurt than anger, because I think being hurt to angry is 2 different things. And when you deal with somebody that's hurt and then they have an opportunity to prove themselves or retaliate, being hurt, I say a hurt person is scarier than an angry person in my book. Because when you got somebody that is tearing up and saying, I'm gonna drop you like a bad habit, and they crying about it, I'm like, man, you better run for your life. And that was me. I went back to my apartment in Costa Mesa. I cried for a good 2 hours because I was dreaming of being that first round, not being the first overall, but being a first round pick. And I put up first round pick numbers. My pro day that year, coming from Cali back to Lincoln to do my pro day, because I went to the combine, but I had a strain growing. So you tell me, from the research and the numbers you know about any pro days or combines, that you see a running back or any position of a player go 3rd round and run a 4.17 and a 4.18, jump 41.5 inches, broad jump 11 feet 1 inch. I have a pro agility at 3.92. I catch 17 or 20 balls, and they say I can't catch, or they don't know if I can catch the ball because he's a Nebraska back. They don't run the ball. They run the ball 100% of the time. You know, he can't catch. Okay. But I run a 4.17, a 4.18. Who else you know has done that and gone not in the 31 picks of the first round? Tell me that.
I can't.
Exactly. You can't.
I can't. Yeah. I mean,
you know? Yeah. And so that just told me that this is a business.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's some gatekeeping. And you pissed on something. You pissed off somebody that you better hope I'm on your team. That's how I looked at it in my brain.
And you were only on Seattle for a couple of years, and then you get traded to Green Bay. So how did you take that? How did you, use that, learning the business more of the NFL, but use that to your advantage? Because obviously, in the end, you become the all-time leading rusher in Green Bay history, which is, pretty good franchise, and not just the NFL, but in professional sports as well.
Yeah, it was, again, business stuff, right? It's the day before the draft. I never forget it because my daughter, who's now 29 years old, she was turning 5. It was April 16th, 2000. April 16th, 2000. I'm in Miami. That's where my daughter and my fiance were at that time. Flipping burgers, getting ready for kids to come over to celebrate my daughter's 5th birthday party. My cell phone ring. It's my dad. He's like, "Son, you a Packer?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Dad, no, you ain't telling me I'm a Packer. I'm a Seahawk. I'm about to go put in work. I just talked to Coach Roman a couple months ago. He said that you developed second year great. you could push Ricky Waters for the starting job. I said, that's all I need to hear. I said, it's a bad dad. I'm a Seahawk. He said, no. Go in the house. He said, where are you at? I said, I'm outside grilling burgers. He's like, boy, put the thing down. Go in the house. Turn the ESPN. Trey Wingo is about to say something on the TV right now. I go in the house, I do as he's told me. I say, Dad, all right, let me call you back. Click. Go in the house, turn on TV. Trey Wingo. Ahman Green's been traded to the Green Bay Packers for Fred Vincent in the 5th round conditional pick. I'm sitting there like, what? Hold up. Joby. I call my agent Joby. Joby, hey, I just found this out too. I'm like, this how for real? He said, I don't know. I'm gonna make some calls. Let me call you back. Click. Again, wow. So I've been through this before, right? I've been through this before on draft day. So my mind obviously transitioned real fast. It's just like, I've been hurt at one point in time, but then no problem. All right, I see what this is. Again, another business experience. Here we go. All right, so something, I don't know why, but they traded me. Cool. All right, let's see. Oh, man, Dorsey Levin's my new teammate. That's sweet. They won a Super Bowl there. Leroy Butler and Gilbert Brown, Brett Favre. Oh, snap, they got Brett Favre. Ooh, Antonio Freeman. Oh, this is okay. That's like, it's not a bad situation. Midwest, I wasn't too happy about that. Yeah, I thought I was happy to be out of the Midwest with all the snow and everything, but I guess I can't dodge it. But it's all good. But yeah, it was just another. Okay, this is business. This is how things are done, right? And I tell people all the time, man, a lot of players from Major League Baseball to basketball to any sport where you could set up a trade, a lot of players are not in that conversation. It's the GMs dealing with, another GM, and then they hit y'all. We the third in line to get told. So it's like the GMs talk, and maybe the agents, and then maybe the player finds out. And after that, the player finds out. And so that's when I found out, and I was like, okay, here we go. Now it's just like, okay, I'm gonna be Dorsey Levin's backup because he's the starter, he's the dude, he's a Super Bowl champ. So I'm gonna be, I'll say growing and developing behind him. Which I was like, he's Super Bowl champ. It doesn't get any better than this. I just watch him how he does it. Watch Ricky when I was in Seattle. Watch how he practiced and stuff, and play and stuff like that. And so I say learning experience, but then another growth moment to understand what the NFL is about and where you got to have your mindset and be ready for anything coming your way.
How did you run with it? How did that become an advantage for you? And again, in the end, become the all-time leading rusher in franchise history?
It became, more momentum. I mean, like I said, I still had it in the back of my head from when I got drafted, right? That was in the back of my head. Like all 32 is going to get it at that time. Then another, that Carolina, I think it was Carolina, but no, it wasn't Carolina. It was somebody else came in later in my career. But those teams are going to feel me, right? And so just more motivation. But then it was motivation to where I knew I was in a good place. This is a good football town. A small town. It was like Nebraska. Again, it felt like Lincoln, Nebraska. That's what it felt like to me.
In the end, it's 12 years in the NFL, right. Which again, the lifespan of a running back is what, less than 5 years.
Yeah. So at that time, I think it was 3.5 then.
3.5 then, yeah.
Yeah. So again, disappointment during the draft, you get traded, but to say that you're a 12-year veteran, what does that tell you about yourself and the way you've persevered in your career?
Easily says I'm built different. I had a mindset that where a lot of players would have quit in my situation, because I don't even talk. I can't get into, but I know we don't have the time because I know I got to jump off here in a little bit. But just between on the field stuff, being a football player, right? Off-season conditioning, mini camps and all that, living the life there. But then also, I had stuff, I had 2 divorces during my first part of my, during that trade time, like right after the trade and a couple years after that, divorce. And then a couple years later, I tried to make it work with another lady, divorce. It just didn't work. And so I had that going on all at the same time. That was on me, though. That was my life. I decided as an adult to push for that, and I paid for it, and I learned from it. But I was still able to play the sport I love, And so I think a lot of people, like for my teammates, they knew all that stuff. But for the fans, obviously, I wasn't going to, back like like today, you could share your story online and then all that stuff with social media wasn't huge. It wasn't even around then. It was starting to get there towards the end of my career in 09 and 2010. But outside of all of that stuff, added on being just and trying to be a football player, so I had all that going on too. And I know that for my teammates that knew what everything going on behind the scenes, they would have like, man, how are you doing this, man? How are you able to be ready for the season every year and then having to deal with some of the stuff you had to deal with? And I was like, I learned how to prioritize what the important stuff was and when and how long to focus on it for. And I got really good at that. So when it was football, I knew how to just laser focus on football. If it was conditioning in the off season or regular season, getting ready for a game and all that, I knew how to shut other things out because I needed to be this person right here for 3 hours. I had to go to Lambeau and be this running back, be this guy, and then go home and deal with life. And then come back to the stadium on Monday, watch the film, win or lose. Now I'm in football mode. I could do this because I got to focus here. And I could get above and still work. And I think that was a good and a bad thing for me. But I think if you can handle that, then you're just you're stretching your bandwidth a little bit. But sometimes as a professional in any job of being a professional, even if I was a lawyer and all that, where I come in the courtroom, I'm crushing it in the courtroom, I'm winning cases, but then at home, I got all this going on, right? And that's where I tell people all the time, man, we are human. I said, athletes are human first before we become this superhero that you love us about, playing for your favorite team or whatever organization we're at. We're human first. We just got a chance to do something extraordinary with ourselves, playing the sport we love, playing the sports we love, whatever sport it is, and was able to, bring that entertainment to you. For us, it's not entertainment. For us, it's most guys right away call it a job once they get drafted. I didn't call it a job until I think I got to Green Bay. I didn't start saying, oh man, I got to go to work. I say in Seattle, in my first couple of years in Green Bay, I was like, oh man, I had to go to practice. I kept saying practice or I go with my boys. Like I was saying that I never looked at it as work, but eventually it came in later. So I think that stuff, between, the stuff off the field, the stuff on the field, that's where you find out, okay, yeah, if you really wanted to do this, which I did, so I got to be able to manage all those different areas to make sure I'm that football player. And then obviously husband, father, uncle, nephew, things that are going to be there, regardless of what type of profession you're in. You're going to always be a husband. You're going to always be a father. You're going to be a brother. You're going to be you're going to be somebody that you have family members that you're around all the time. So you just got to be ready to manage all that. And for you to be successful, if you really want it, that's the things you got to understand you're going to have to go through.
Man, that's a great message, man. I know we're getting short on time and everything, and we're gonna get to the gamers lounge because I love video games myself and everything.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask, do you have a favorite performance of yours? I know not a favorite game, a favorite performance of yours from Nebraska and from the NFL.
Oh yeah, I do. My freshman year, we played Washington State in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'll say that game was my first. I believe it was my first. Yeah, it was my first 100-yard game. I had a couple touchdowns. I had 176 yards. And it was after Lawrence, got suspended. And so it went through different, running backs. So Clinton Childs played a couple games, got hurt. Damon Benning played a couple games, got hurt. And then it was a toss-up between me and Jay Sims. And because he had been at the school, but hadn't been, I guess, I don't know, learning offense or whatever. But they ended up putting me in over him. And I was just like ready. I didn't realize how much ready I was. But like I said, practicing against the black shirt defense, Christian and Mike Minter, Tony Veland, Doug Coleman, Christian Peter, Jason Peter, Grant Winstrom, those guys were just, they got us ready. We hated to practice against them. We hated it.
That's crazy.
It was like, we can't wait till Saturday. We cannot wait till Saturday. And so that helped me. I was playing against a pro team before I got the pro. So that Washington State game was just more like, I'm just kind of knocking, I'm just like I'm here, I'm ready. And so that's where that was my favorite game right there my freshman year, because it was my first game over 1,000, a couple touchdowns, and was like, I'm here, I'm ready now. And then I would say as a pro, I would have to say as a pro, it was my the Denver Bronco game. When the 03 season, where I had a 98-yard touchdown run, because that was a game where a lot of things were happening by, like a movie. You don't know everything until you see behind the scenes of what was really going on. And it was nothing bad going on. It was just the fact that fast forward to, or go back to the moment I talked to you about where I did my combine training, Frank Baskerville. He mentioned during my training, he kind of put it out there. He said, hey, you're going to be the guy. You're going to be the running back that breaks Tony Dorsett's or ties it or do something. He said, because you got that type of speed. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you're a professional. If you know, then I'm not going to say otherwise. I'm not going to disagree with you. And so I remember him talking about it, man. When you break out, ain't nobody catching you. He said, if you get out on the open field where you get a clean block and from everybody, there is nobody in the NFL that's going to catch you. And I just remember that. And then that game happened where it showed everything. I showed everything, what I could do, run through people, run around people, and run 98 yards. And the part really that I'm proud about, not only that run happened, but it's really just being part of a team. And if you watch what we know as our, the offensive line, that play, it was H2 Bob. And the play was a misdirection goal line play for that situation. So we're backed up on the goal line. We're going to run a misdirection to just get a few yards, just to get out of the end zone.
Get some space.
Get some space. That's it. Get 5 yards. That play was built for 5 yards. That's what that is. 5 yards or a first down. Just get you 5 yards, get a first down, get you out of the goal line so you can move and do some other plays. But the way those guys blocked, Mike Wall, Marco Rivera, Kevin Berry, Mike Flanagan, Mark Tauscher, Chad Clifton, Bubba Franks, and then I think Robert Ferguson was the wideout, along with Donald Driver, I think, and maybe Javon Walker. Those guys were on the field. And when I say everybody did their job exactly the way it should went for a run play to work and go beyond that, that happened. So that's what I was more proud about, is like my teammates doing their job the right way and to help me get that, because I'm not doing that without them. I'm not doing them without them at all.
Sorry, I just want to stay on this play because I played offensive line in high school and college and everything. So was that just a zone? Because I noticed a lot of the Green Bay y'all scheme. It seemed like there were a lot of cutbacks. So were y'all scheme more of a zone?
Yeah, it was a zone. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so the same thing like Denver Broncos, 49ers, any West Coast offense. That was the scheme. Yep. Okay. That was the scheme.
That was perfect. We were just watching that play before you came on and everything. And I was talking about that had to be a zone. That's beautiful. Yep. It was just beautiful. Because you weren't even touched. You weren't touched.
No. We talked a lot and kind of teased a lot about the gaming. And for you, you're a big gamer to the point where you have your own YouTube channel. When did gaming come into your life, and how big was it maybe during your playing days to help you get away from the sport, the game a little bit?
Well, it's been in my life since I was the longest traditional sport. So when I started playing flag football out in Los Angeles, so 6, because my dad that year he worked at Norfolk Aviation. He was IT there, and he brought home an Apple II PC. And in the house already, we had ColecoVision and Nintendo. And then I get introduced to a PC. So I'm like, what is this? And so he knows right away I'm curious. So he gets me into Carmen Sandiego and Oregon Trail on the PC. So I was PC gaming before I was console gaming, and then just carried on from there. So from age 6 to now, I'm 49 years old. That's just do the math, a long time.
Right.
And that's where everything else kind of fell into place. The way my mom and dad built, getting me ready for that was I had to have good grades, A's and B's. I had to do my chores. I couldn't get in trouble anywhere, school or home, football and video games. I remember the first time I got in trouble because I was being a kid doing kid stuff. I was sick home from school and actually peeled off the plier grip from my dad's toolbox. He comes home from work and it's like, did you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I was bored. I'm sorry. He's like, no problem. He just came quietly in my room. And as I watched him unplug my Sega Genesis, my VCR, and my Nintendo and said, 2 weeks. That's when you're going to get this back. I'm like, I said, that shit's received. No problem. I'm not ever doing it again. So that's when the game would start. And then it was a structure behind it, right? It was, like I said, I had the A's. And so I knew that I could play for 2 or 3 hours and I had to go touch grass or I had to get my homework done. So it was a structure behind it that where it wasn't, I was playing for 8 hours and not doing my homework or not cleaning the kitchen, doing my chores in the house. So all that got built. Then when it fell right in, as I got older, once I got to high school, I knew, okay, I could play my Tecmo Bowl or Madden for a couple hours. Then I got to get my homework done before I go to bed. So all that it worked. And so when I got to the league, and even in college too, was like, on the weekends after a game on Saturday, we have a 12 o'clock kickoff. I'm back in my dorm room by 4 o'clock. I'm probably get a little bit of Legend of Zelda in on the Nintendo, and get to that place in Nebraska, didn't lose a whole lot. I'll say that. Only lost 2 games in 3 years. So it wasn't no getaway of a game. But I say once the NFL came along, of course. So my games of choice were to get out of there. And then obviously not just dealing with a loss, but just being an NFL player was stressful, compared to being a college player. So my fun games were like anything that would take me or things I know I wouldn't do. Like Grand Theft Auto. I won't be a criminal, but I'll be a criminal in this game. In GTA 3, Vice City. That was my first one.
That was the one. That was the one.
I would dig into that. So take me to a place where I know I will not be a criminal. Let's be real. And then the other game was Hitman. I'm not going to be a hitman, but you know what? I could play this game and take people out, snipe them from distance or come up behind them and poison them within their drink.
Yeah.
Everything he did in the game, those are my games that took me away from, we just lost to the Bears, like, oh my God, this is a rivalry game. It counts double towards the division. Now we got to get rolling again. So I would play those games like that and throw in a Halo, throwing a little bit of Madden, and that would help me get back to normal. And then just like going to the chiropractor, getting adjusted on Tuesday, get my deep tissue massage, I get my Madden in during Monday Night Football. Like I'll have Monday Night Football muted, and I'll be playing my Madden and having that in the background. That was my house.
Yeah.
During the season, my wife was like, "Can't you just get away from it?" I said, "No, I gotta play. This is football. But when I'm done playing, it's gonna be different," which it was, once I really got out of, retirement, into retirement, then, because I was okay at Madden. I wasn't the best because definitely when I wasn't playing, I wasn't full time, obviously, because full time was real football, So I had the locker room. Everybody was like, "Hey man, I heard AG plays a lot. He really good." I'm like, "Bro, I'm not that good. Trust me, I'm not putting in time like I'm like putting in time to be a Pro Bowl actual NFL running back." No, because that's not my job to be a pro Madden player. Not yet, anyway. Maybe I could do it, at the end of my career when everything I could focus on there, because I met Madden pros and they train just like we do. I met Skimbo. I know a few, Drenny. They put in the work just like we put in the work when they're making their money, they're making their living. So I respect that, from all parts. So, but for my career, yeah, those are the games from GTA to Hitman, playing the Halo campaign out, Gears of War campaign out, those fun games that kind of detach because you need it, because, having a big loss, you just don't hear it on ESPN. You hear it on the local stations. And I say the one thing my dad taught me to do, he said, don't pay attention to that stuff. Ignore it. And I did. I would put them, ESPN on mute when it came to my game. I didn't want to hear nothing they said about me, good or bad, because I watched film on Monday. I already know what happened in the game. We either lost or we won, and make the adjustments and get ready for the next game. And I didn't want to get into the whole, oh my God, they're talking about me on ABC or ESPN or NFL Network. My dad taught me that as a kid a long time ago. Don't watch don't pay attention to that. Just play your game and ignore it, because there's a lot of it. It's talking heads. That's what he called them, talking heads. Right. And I'm a talking head now too. So it's funny when every now and then when I'm commentating on a game or I'm talking about a game, I kind of keep it. I keep it factual, because my dad was that's all he was looking for. He's like, give me the points, give me who won and lost, and if it was a big injury or something like that, I don't need your opinion. That was how my dad was built in terms of, because he played football. He was an offensive lineman, and he understood that. So he could, all he wanted is give me the stats, give me who won, who lost, some big injury that is players lost for the season, or a big throw or adjustment that the team made to get the victory. That's all I want. And then after that, click. I'm changing. I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't unless you won 5 Super Bowls like Joe Montana or something like that. That's
right. It didn't matter.
Right. That did better. So yeah. So that was my getaway.
So and with the video games in the locker room and everything, who was the video game locker room king?
I say in the Packer locker room, wasn't the king, but I know everybody knew I played a lot. Okay. And the one only moment I could really shine on is the fact that Donald Driver, for whatever reason in his head, he overheard a conversation between me and Robert Ferguson when we drafted Fergie out of A&M. And Ferguson came up to me and said, "Hey, G, man, why they got you fumbling on the game in the fourth quarter? It's like every time he was playing franchise mode or something on it." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, man. So I called. So I had contacts at EA, and I called my boy Sandy Sandoval, great guy, and he was like the liaison to all players at that time. And I called Sandy up just to hover. I wasn't serious. This was all teasing fun. Like I said, "Sandy, how you doing?" He's like, "I'm good, man." He's like, "What's up? You need anything? You need a game?" I'm like, "No, I don't need a game. I got the game. You already said that." I said, "But why you guys got my fumbling in the fourth quarter? Like, what's up?" Mike Holmgren said that, and y'all just think I'm a fumbler? Like, come on. Help a brother out on the game, so I was just teasing him. But Donald overheard that conversation. So he thinking like in his head, he could invite me over to his house to play Madden and he's going to get a dub. And I'm like, he did. He invited me over and I was like, let's play a game. We'll have the wife and kids come over to hang out on a Monday. And we had a bye week the previous week or the next coming week. And we did that. So we get there and he's trash talking the whole time. And I'm just quietly scoring touchdowns. And you know the rule, 21-point rule, partner.
Oh yeah.
So I scored the 21 point, kicked the PAT, and I looked at him. I'm like, game over. I said, game over. You did all that? Yeah, like in my head, I'm like, he did all this shit. Oh, I can't wait all week long. Oh, I can't wait to get you at the crib, man. I'm gonna do this to you. I was like, who did you talk to? I didn't say I'm the best in the game, but I played the game. I'm not just gonna let you just. I'm going to give some effort. And trust me, we're both NFL players. So I know my scheme on defense, what I've run, and between zone and press one and all that. And do you know that? Do you know the adjustments? You know the audibles? No, you don't. You just chop in there. So that was kind of my funny moment I tell because it was like, bro, I'm not just this a guy you think you're going to get an easy win on. No, right. You might. If you win, you're going to win by a couple points. I'm not going to get unless you're a Madden Pro, which I got destroyed. I'll get, but I'm taking that loss to a Madden Pro as an education. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wasn't much. It was only a few plays, and I think sometimes the anxiety comes in because you're like, oh man, this is like somebody playing against me. Think, oh man, I'm playing against an NFL player. When I'm playing a Madden player, I'm thinking the same thing. Oh my God, this is a Madden Pro. He's top 10 in the world, right? And sometimes that anxiety throws your game off. I think I know I've been in that situation before because I played against Madden Pros and I got overthinking and really they only beat me on 2 plays. And I'm like, wait a minute. When I look back at it in my head, it was just an interception on that play where I read the coverage and I tried to force the ball. And then boom, it was another turnover there or they got a kooky fumble, which fumbles rarely happen in Madden. And that's it. It was 2 plays that made the difference in the game. And I lost by 10 points. I'm like, that ain't bad.
Interesting.
Right. I'll brag to say, hey, I lost to Skimbo by 10 points.
Wow,
he's 10th in the world.
He's legendary. Yeah, legendary.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to brag about it, but I'm like, hey, I'm not far off.
Right. So the level between. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
No, I'm done. Yeah, I was done.
So the level between. So you're not. I would say you're above. You're an above average gamer for sure. So like Correct. The level between you and top 10 player. What is that level? How far is that, do you think?
I say not far. I say really it's just my mindset because I just played a player that was top 10 in the world about 2 months ago. And he beat me, I think it was like 20, I think it was like 30-something to 17. 30, it was 37.
So you're actually scoring and stopping and everything.
So it's like,
so it's not like, yeah.
Exactly. So it really is just me making sure, just like I just think about it like my rookie year. Like just go out there and play football and have fun. Because it's more of an anxiety thing. Playing, I'm like, you're playing against a top player and you throw your game off by overthinking stuff. because I knew I threw an interception that I shouldn't have thrown. I read the coverage right. It's like I still was trying to force the ball somewhere, which I normally don't do, but it's still like I had to think in that same mindset. Like when I was playing ball, this is how I play ball. Is I'm relaxed. I'm not thinking about the mistake of being out there, just going out there and play ball, and then adjust on the run and play what I see. They're going to run the defense. I read the defense. Oh, it's zone. Then I'm going to do this route, or I'm going to do this run play. If it's man, okay, I'm going to make the adjustments as I see it, because I think they're just as nervous as I am, because they're like, oh man, I'm playing against Ahman Green, he's a full-time Pro Bowler, but I got him on this Madden. No, this is my world. That's where I know they're thinking that, because that's what I would think. Hey, he's in my world. You come on the real football field, you play against me at prime Ahman. Oh, I'm going to run some routes. I'm going to cook you, I'm man to man. Because I remember my first year here in Houston, and I'm long in the tooth. D'Amico Ryan's coming off his defensive rookie in the year in 06. This is the next year, 07. We're in training camp and we're doing one-on-one linebacker drills. And like I said, I'm 33. I'm 34 years old. He's prime. And I kept getting wide open on certain routes. And he was just like, Ahman, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I've been around the block a few times. And I said, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm reading your body. Like if you're sitting there and you're off the line of scrimmage, you're sitting in the zone. So you got to cover an area. So that tells me I got to go to you, because then I'm going to push your zone to then get open, breaking out or in. If you're going to be man press, that means, and you're on the line, you're telling me you're man. So then I'm at where I'm in home. I want you to put your hands on me. I'm a physical guy. So I'm going to grab you. You're going to grab me. I'm going to grab you. And then boom, I'm going to throw you off of me, because I know how to do that and get open. And then boom, I just get my space that I fight for, and I'm open. So he was like, oh, I said, yeah, because I'm just reading your body. You're off the ball. Oh, that's zone. You're on the ball. You're tight on the ball. That's man press. Now I just got to get you on me, and then work it from there, work the route from there. So that was stuff that, from teaching him and showing him being at his prime, that I know I could. I mean, if I was at my prime and playing against probably a Madden player trying to run around, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good for them. Same instance.
Going back to college or even younger days for a moment with Madden, playing with some of those players, and then playing maybe with them or against them in the NFL, is there a moment where that kind of struck you that, okay, this isn't Madden, this is real life, but it's the same person that I was playing with before?
Say that again.
You're playing Madden and you're playing as different players, and then you're in the NFL and you're playing with them and against them. Yeah. Was there ever a moment that struck you that, oh, I'm in the NFL now, these guys are guys I used to play with in Madden?
You know what? A little bit. I say it was more towards like my jersey collection. I remember. So between playing on Madden and playing with a guy, with a Ray Lewis, guys that were there before I was there, and then looking at I had like all these running backs jerseys. I had Napoleon Kaufman's jersey. I had Marcus Allen's jersey, Eric Dickerson, right? And I'm like, I can't wear these jerseys no more. I'm in the league now, and so it was kind of like, dang, I got half my wardrobe I can't even walk out the door in, because I'm a Seahawk now, and they were in the division at the time. They were the same division. It was that, but then from the Madden standpoint, it was like very cool. It was, for me, it was like I was a fan. Like, oh my God, I'm playing once where I'm a fan of, right? So playing the 49ers for the first time was like, I know in the video game he's the best on the game, Jerry Rice, but is it going to really happen? How many passes is he going to catch against us, man? I'm not covering them right now. Willie Williams and Darrell Williams and all those guys, Sean Springs are going to be covering. We played them in my first preseason game, and just to be a fan like that, for me, being an athlete on top of that, like I was a 49er fan because of my dad. And we watched them win Super Bowls. And now my first preseason game was against them in Toronto, was like, oh man, it's so cool. I was like, but now, hey, I got to switch on. I got to flip another switch where I got to play against these guys. But I'm not actually playing against Jerry Rice, but it was just cool to know that I used to play with him on Madden. That was my guy too. And I threw it to him all the time, so because he was the best in the league,
So did you have to hold back if you made a catch, in real life?
Oh, no.
Cheer for him?
Oh, no hold back.
No.
I got out of that real quick, trust me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hey, I got it. It's business. And then this is not a game. This is the real game. So I got to make it. I got to make my catch. I got to get the first down. Yeah. And I'll appreciate the fact that I'm on the field with him now after the game. But, hey, I was a fan, but, hey, I had to go. I had to do what I had to do on the football field, though. So.
Well, Ahman, this has been great, man. I can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing your story. And again, gaming as well, a big part of that. And I know you've got your lounge, your Gamers Lounge on YouTube as well. How else can people follow you and see what you're doing now in your post-football days?
Yeah, so the Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge podcast, you shoot live on Tuesdays at 2 p.m., but the VOD is always on YouTube and on Twitch as well on Ahman Green TV. And then Instagram, it's Ahman Green 30. Along with AG Gamers Lounge, and same thing on X, Ahman Green 30 and Ahman Green's AG Gamers Lounge on there. And then we're on TikTok, AG's Gamers Lounge, Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge spelled out on there. And streaming 3-4 days a week on my Twitch channel, Ahman Green TV. That's where they can find me. Drop a message in the DM. I do conversate. I'm not the typical athlete. That's one thing I want to put out there. I understand who I am. So what I mean by that is, when I was a player, if a fan saw me, they see the fan, right? They see the football player, right? I'm just telling people, look, I'm just a human being. Just like even when I was playing to now, I know what I used to do, and I got that for a reason, right? I get that, but I'm just a big geek and dork and introvert. Really, I'm naturally an introvert, but I love commentating, so I got to come out my comfort zone. But I'm just a human, just like y'all. So when I see somebody that I'm a fan of, I lose it. When I'm first time I met Michael Jordan, I was like, oh my God, this is MJ. This is that dude, or the Dwayne Johnson. Like, I didn't know what to say. I mean,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. I barely talked to him.
Dwayne Johnson, Mike. Right. The Rock. That's who he's talking about. That's crazy.
Right. I'm like, that's The Rock. I didn't know what to say. I could barely get 2 sentences out to that dude.
That's wild.
And he wasn't where he was then. This was 2004.
So this is still just wrestler Rock, basically.
Right. And I'm like, I know who that was. And I was like sitting there like, why can't I not talk to this dude? I was a fan too. So it's just like, hey, we're just normal people. We did something extraordinary for a long time at a sport. And now we're just trying to, live the next step, go to the next, take one day at a time. That's it. So if you see me on the street or you see me on the social, drop a like. But if you see me on the street, say hello. We're going to have a conversation, especially if you like Batman or video games. We can have a long conversation. I'll talk you ear off if any of those categories. So
that's awesome, man. And I can vouch for that because I was watching your Twitch stream one day, and I'd come across it, and I had just followed you. I'd started following you at that moment. And at that moment, you mentioned, hey, my name was Slim Ages, whatever on there. And you had mentioned my name. Hey, Slim, hey, thanks for the follow, man. How you doing, man? Where you from? And it started a complete conversation with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was awesome to me. That was really cool to me. And I just wanted to let you know about that, man. People see that, and people like me, fans of you and everything, see that. And that felt good for me. That was a good moment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my mom and dad coming out, and introduce yourself. Sometimes we don't get a lot of, hey, man, how you doing? There's not a lot of that in our world. And I think that you start a conversation like that, even with somebody you don't know, you start off good, right? And do it. I say, do it. I said, I challenge people to do it with people somebody, your wife, your kids, be like, hey, how you doing today? Because I remember I dropped that to a couple people where they're like, oh man, nobody's ever asked me that. And I'm like, well, how are you doing? I say, I already asked you once. I guess I got to ask you again, And it's like, because I think the world is at a fast pace now with all the technology and everything we do. It gets lost in the shovel to find out, like, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? Is it a good day or is it a trash day? Is it you're dumping out stuff that you just kind of hiding and trying to figure out on your own, or you're having a great day. Like, where you at? So you never know. If somebody's having a good or bad day. And that's sometimes I think you gotta push into that to find out. Because you remember, we're human at the end of the day. We're not no cybergenic robot from the planet Zonar or something like that. No, we're human beings trying to figure out our next step, man. At the end of the day.
And I think that's what JR and I are finding now. We interview so many people that we've been fans of through their careers and us growing up, and then they're just regular people just like us, just trying to share their story and trying to go on. And as you said, hey, kind of reinvent yourself a little bit after your retirement, because you have so many more years ahead of you that doesn't involve the sport that you played in, right? So you've got to do that and do the best that you can to reinvent yourself a little bit, for sure.
Exactly. Couldn't say it better myself. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Ahman, this has been great. Can't thank you enough for joining us. And keep doing what you're doing, man. We appreciate it.
I will. Thanks for having me on, guys. And again, just ask me again whenever y'all ready to talk football. Once the season gets here, I'm ready for it. It's going to be a fun season as it is usually.
All right. We'll follow up on that. Well, another great guest there, Ahman Green. We appreciate him joining us, and a lot to get into with him, man. He was a talker for sure and shared a lot with us. But let's talk a little football first, and just some good stuff, playing football, but also playing other sports as well, baseball. And, he's another one of those guys, JR, that you talked to that I think they thought baseball was going to be their route, but it eventually became football for him.
Yeah, man. And I guess it just goes back to like baseball was just so easy to get into, like a bat and a ball at a field. And you know what I mean? And you could just get into it. And that was my first sport. That was my first love. That was my organized team sport I played until I basically grew out of it and had to play football. But yeah, baseball was just that sport. And just walk around, find the field, hit a ball outside, because we're not inside on our phones. And back in our day, you know what I mean? So baseball, I love hearing that or just multi-sports, period. You know what I mean? I love hearing that from all the athletes that we talk to.
Yeah, so many of these guys were multiple sport athletes. You're seeing less of that these days, but they certainly saw the benefit of it. And how about I love the story, learning about when he was traded from Seattle to Green Bay. His dad called him while he was grilling out and let him know, hey, go turn on the TV right now. You're about to be traded.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm out here slinging burgers and stuff. Man, what are you talking about? I'm about to be traded. No, that's the little stories, the little nuggets like that we get to hear on these interviews, man. It's so good to hear, man. It's so random and spot on.
And a guy that became the all-time leading rusher with Green Bay. But I love the gaming part of it too, though, that we talked to him about, how he used it growing up as something that kind of gave him some structure. But then you become a pro athlete, and it was a little stress reliever for him at times as well.
Yeah, man, that's what it all started out for me. And when I was younger, started, playing video games. And for me, it was always kind of a getaway and whatnot, because I wasn't a professional athlete. But getting in high school, got competitive playing with the friends and everything, the Tecmo Bowls and the Maddens like you was talking about. And then into college, when I got into college, playing after the games and everything, and after those long, hard practices and the tour days and the summers and all that, helped build camaraderie. Sure. And good culture and everything within the team, and just staying competitive at stuff and just getting away from everything. That's always good to hear, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah,
love video games.
If you're a gamer, check out his Gamers Lounge on YouTube and see what. And the last point that he made, hey, we're just human. We're athletes, but we're just like everybody else. And as I told him, I think you and I are finding that out. So many people that we interview, we look at them and like, oh, they're big athletes. We're athletes, but they're just like us, man. They're, again, trying to make their way in life, especially for them, maybe harder after a professional career.
Yeah, it's got to be tough, man. But I love that he said that. And they're like on the Saturday Night Live skit, like I put on pants just like every other man, but when I do, I make gold records. Like when he puts his pants on, he breaks records, and he's an all-time leading rusher in Green Bay. But he's still putting on his pants just like we do. And I love hearing athletes say that kind of stuff. And he proved it, like I said, he proved it. I started following him out of the blue, and then he started a full-on conversation with me, just me watching this Twitch stream one day. And that was really cool for me to see. I love that.
Yeah, fun guest for us to have. Hopefully we get him back during the season, talk a little bit more football with him. But our thanks, Nithin Ramachandra with NR Media, for helping set that up for us. to talk with Ahman and certainly appreciate him. And as always, we appreciate you watching, listening, and what do we want them to do, JR? What do we need them to do right now?
You to like and to subscribe and to share with your friends so we can continue to grow and bring these great stories to everybody.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great guests lined up, a lot of great guests coming your way here in the next couple of weeks. So be part of it. Be part of what we're doing here on In the Front Row. It's a lot of fun for us, for sure, to get a chance to talk to these folks, and hopefully it is for you to hear from them as well. So for JR Quitman, we're usually behind the scenes, but we're getting more on the air these days. So he's more involved with us. We appreciate that as well. For him, I'm Mike Vaccaro. Thanks for watching and listening, and see you next time, another episode of In the Front Row. Have a great day.
Have a good day, everybody.